Hello, hello, hello. Fatzoid here. Let's talk about MAKO TSUNAMI. MAKO is a man who I think a lot of us can relate to. He's fatherless. Except instead of going to get milk and never returning, the man died at sea, which is a pretty badass upgrade. This deck is based on the iconic card we all saw when we were a kid, the legendary Fisherman. I run 9 of them in the deck. So I'm even more MAKO than MAKO was. Unfortunately, I can't cheat like MAKO could. I can't just make up rules in the middle of a match, so I actually had to make my deck work. Unlike MAKO, who was running a bunch of vanilla monsters with dogshit stats. Let's look at this beautiful masterpiece right now and go over some combos. A Legendary Ocean is the most important card in this deck, so much so that we have 7 copies of it with Warrior of Atlantis and Terraform, allowing us to get it out of the deck. I was thinking of running Metaverse too, but somehow I feel like when I was using it, I would just keep drawing too many Legendary Oceans. So I think 7's a decent spot to be at. The main point of the deck is to play this iconic card, which will lower the level of all water monsters that we have by 1 and giving them a small attack bonus. But really we care about the level lowering. This allows us to play our level 5 cards for no tribute, which are the Legendary Fisherman 1, the Legendary Fisherman 2, and the Great Emperor Penguin. Now, the focus of the deck is to summon Big Daddy, the Legendary Fisherman 3, which, Jesus, this is a Hulk of a man. 2500 attack, 2000 defense, and can only be special summoned by sacrificing a Legendary Fisherman. And when he comes out, he can banish all your opponent's monsters. He can't attack the turn he uses this, but even just that ability is insane. Then let's talk about how he can't be destroyed by battle or card effects and is unaffected by spell and trap cards. Nothing short of your opponent having Effect Veiler or banishment, some type of banishment spell, or I guess banishment monster effect, will work. And guess what? If you have Sea Stealth Attack on the field, this card is virtually untouchable. I mean, the card has him in the damn picture, so you know it's good with him. Now, there is one other effect, which is funny. So, once per turn, you can return as many of your opponent's banished cards as possible to their graveyard. And if you do, the first battle or effect damage your opponent takes is doubled. So, there is big damage potential there, especially if you can go into access code talker after using this effect. Because even if you don't do that, it's 5k damage right to the face. And they're probably going to lose pretty shortly after. So that is the main feature of the deck. But we also have other plays. We run Barrier Statue of the Torrent, because one Burial Statue forces your opponent to play very differently. And also, it completely just beats out Drytron, which is hilarious to me. Anytime I could do that, I will. And the reason we also run Emperor Penguin in the deck, because I know it's a weird choice, is his tribute ability lets us get 2 Glacial Beast Polar Penguins out of the deck, which is good fodder for link summoning, and it also bounces a card your opponent has to the hand, and with Legendary Ocean out, they become level 2 Aqua monsters, which can go into totally awesome. So there's a lot of reasons I'm running it. And lastly, it's also 2 cards that come out on the field that if we have Citadel Well in the graveyard or in hand, we can special summon it to fetch our Sea Stealth Attack out of the deck. Alright. Another card I'm very happy with is Ice Barrier. So Ice Barrier makes it so when we summon our Barrier Statue of the Torrent, they can't just run over it because it only has 1000 attack. But this makes it so even if your opponent's attacking us with a Blue Eyes White Dragon, which, Jesus, there's so many on the damn ladder, they're not going to be able to just run it over because it changes their attack to 0. And this card's like almost perfect for us because you can banish this card from the graveyard, send 1 level 5 or higher water monster from your deck to the graveyard, then add 1 water monster from your graveyard to your hand. So there is plays where you can either get your Legendary Fisherman, like either one that you need, or you can, if you already have a Warrior of Atlantis and they got rid of your field spell, or if you have your Barrier Statue in the graveyard, you can just send Citadel Whale to the graveyard and grab one of your other water monsters, like your Barrier Statue or Warrior of Atlantis. There's a lot of versatility with this card. We run 3 forbidden droplets in the deck because we wanted this deck to have a better turn 2, because I end up losing a lot of like the coin tosses, and I don't like, I need something for turn 2. So that's why we have Harpy's Feather Duster, we have 1 Lightning Storm, we also have, remember, Legendary Fisherman 3 is technically like a, think of it like a Regeki almost. So anytime you're playing against a turn 1 negate board, so you're playing against like Drygtron or something, the strongest start you can have would be Forbidden Droplet. You discard 2. Hopefully one of the 2 you discard is something like Citadel Whale or something, or Citadel Whale Ice Barrier. You know, you play Legendary Ocean, you play one of the Legendary Fishermans, and then you play Legendary Fisherman 3, and you exile their entire board. And they're pretty much fucked at this point. I mean, there's really not much they can do. I mean, if you're playing against Drygtron, they could rebuild because just how the deck works. But it's going to be very hard when you have those. If Drygtron, this is a very hard card for them to deal with. It's one of the harder cards. Like, for most decks don't have things to deal with Legendary Fisherman 3. Like, you have to have like a Kaiju or some type of banish effect. So, and it has to be a monster effect because spells don't work on him. So remember that. Before we talk about the extra deck, I really want to point out the strongest board you could have is the Legendary Fisherman 3 with Sea Stealth Attack activated with, obviously, the Legendary Ocean and something like Barrier Statue on the field too. This way, your opponent has to play awkward the entire game because they have to, even if they want to do anything to you, they have to summon a monster in attack and then try to kill your Barrier Statue, which you just use Sea Stealth Attack to remove from the game until the end of the turn. And now your opponent just sits there wondering what they can do. And remember, Sea Stealth Attack, when you do use this effect of banishing a water monster, your face-up spell and trap cards cannot be destroyed. So they can't like Lightning Storm you, just getting rid of your stuff either. So that's probably one of the strongest boards that you can have on the field. It's really annoying to deal with. And I know you could be like, oh, well, Fatzoid, wouldn't you want to go into a Bahamut Shark and summon Totally Awesome and all? All that stuff is good too, but like there's outs to these cards, right? You can't Forbidden Droplet a Legendary Ocean. He's unaffected by spell and trap effects. Like, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, this card is like just crazy by itself. In the extra deck, we run 13 cards because Banquet of Millions runs a lot of bots. A lot of people running that deck are run by bots, and they will automatically scoop if you have 13 cards in the extra deck. I've gotten like 4 to 5 wins because of this. That would have otherwise been losses. So this is not a bad idea to do. The loss of 2 cards isn't that big of a deal. We run the White Aura Synchro Monsters because they're the easiest to go into. And we have also manipulation with Legendary Ocean. And what I mean by that is if you have Legendary Fisherman on the field, he's a level 4 with Legendary Ocean, right? Let's say you summon Glacial Beast Polar Penguin. Boom. You can go into a level 6 Synchro if you want to. Or if you have another Legendary Ocean in your hand, you can set that Legendary Ocean, get rid of your Legendary Ocean. Now you have a level 5 and a level 3, right? And now you can go into White Aura Whale. Now, the only way you're going into White Aura Biomet is with Citadel Whale out on the field, or using one of your Legendary Fishermen. That's what I mean when I say manipulation with the Legendary Oceans. We've run 7 of them. We should take advantage of it. Now, we've run a lot of level 4 XZs cards, you might notice, because most of our monsters are level 4 with Legendary Ocean on the field. So Bahamut Shark's Insane, probably our the best one we have, because it lets us get a free Totally Awesome out of the extra deck. And Totally Awesome, we can use its effect without actually having to send it to the graveyard for the most part, because we have Aqua Monsters in the deck. And after that, we have Abyss Dweller, the situational card, and number 101 is also another situational card. And we run one Big Eye in case we ever need to do some type of play where we XZ summon using Legendary Fisherman, Citadel Whale, or 2 Legendary Fishermans. It's very rare though. I don't even think it's came up once. It's more of a situational thing I had in my head. And then when you look at our Link monsters, they're pretty much a basic package that comes with some toolkit cards. Like you got the Nightmare cards and Access Code Talker. You end up going into this card most of the time, because if you have a Barrier Statue out and like a Glacial Polar Bear, it's kind of a weak board, but you can Link summon both of these into Marine Cess and then use Marine Cess's effect to get bury a statue out of the graveyard. Or if you have the Great Emperor Penguin, sacrifice it, get 2 of these out, use these 2 to go into Marine Cess, and then use Marine Cess to get bury a statue out of the graveyard. Just a lot of different plays you could do with it. Now that you have an understanding of the sea, you too can become the legendary fisherman. Subscribe, 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 subscribe,